All right, what is going on? I got like 20% left in my my phone battery here, which is what I record with. So we're going to try and bang this out before my phone dies, and we'll go from there. So assuming I can do this all in one take, thank you for joining me. Welcome to another episode of Hey Mark, the podcast where I, Mark, get to have open and authentic conversations about things like mental health and self-development and, you know, the struggles that we go through on a daily basis, whether that's something that we get to talk about, whether it's something that, you know, whatever it could be, you know, just talking about the daily struggles that we've gone through and try and draw some good perspectives out of that. And so on that note, if you are looking to join a community like that, I've recently started, like I've said in many other podcast episodes, I've recently started a community that, you know, we have daily conversations on WhatsApp, we have weekly conversations on Zoom, and we talk about, you know, these types of topics, mental health, the struggles that we go through, etc. And so whether you're somebody that needs some, you know, some new perspectives, a new outlook on life, and you're going through a tough time and some really dark days, and you need to connect with people that either will be able to help you out, or you just want to connect with like-minded people that might be going through something similar, or maybe you're someone that has it all figured out and you've been through those dark days, and you just want to go back and help someone else out, then this community is probably for you. Shoot me a message on Instagram. I'll get you involved. My Instagram will be at the bottom of the screen here below for those of you watching this video. And if you're listening to the podcast version of this, then it'll be in the show notes below or wherever the fuck your podcast notes are. But message me. It's at Mark D. Hendrickson, and I'll get you involved in that community. But I want to talk a little bit about, you know, something that I've talked about on this podcast before, and something that, you know, comes up almost daily in this fucking group that I run. And it's something that, you know, I think this is a timeless, you know, I think maybe predicament that a lot of us find ourselves in. And that basically is having no purpose to what we're doing. You know, feeling like, or I guess I should say the feeling that we have no purpose to what we're doing. The feeling that, you know, we're just going through our days, our day-by-day life, you know, whatever tasks you have to do, you get up. Maybe you work a minimum wage job. Maybe you work like an entry level, like maybe, I don't know, like a front desk person at a gym. Or maybe you work like me, you work in construction and you work like a laborist job. And it seems like the same every single day. And it doesn't really seem like it has much purpose. And you're just going through life. And that's how it feels. And that's a really common problem to have. You know, that's why I think there's so many self-development people in this fucking industry, and you know why there's millions and millions of books written every single year about this topic, right? Like the purpose to life. Well, you're finding your purpose, your meaning, right? And I think that a lot of us go through life feeling like the things that we do on a daily basis don't matter. They don't serve a purpose. And then every single day you get up and you're like, fuck, man, I got to go through another day of this meaningless shit. And every single day when you go to bed, you're asking yourself, well, why did I do the things that I did today? What purpose did I serve? Did I just work for somebody so that they can make money off my labor? I mean, if you think about your existence like that, you're probably going to have a fucking miserable life. Because all of us, every single day are going to have to do things that seem monotonous, they seem pointless. And that's how life could be summarized if that's the way you look at it. If that's your perspective, you know, you have a nihilist perspective that none of this has any meaning or purpose, then you're going to go through life floating around like that. That being said, you know, if you go through life basically thinking that society is supposed to bend around you and you're supposed to feel good about every single little thing that you do, and, you know, you're supposed to have this message from God come down to you and tell you that everything you're doing has meaning, it's not going to fucking happen. I'll be honest with you. The purpose of what you do on a daily basis, the purpose truly comes from within. And it truly comes from understanding why you're doing what you're doing. The reason why behind the suffering or the monotony or the, you know, the pain. For some of us, it's the pain of having to do something boring every single day. And for some of us, it's the pain of a life-altering, emotionally crippling event that we have to go through. Maybe it's the loss of a family member. Maybe it's the loss of a job or your livelihood. Maybe it's, it could be literally anything. And, essentially we all go through these times of thinking about what's the point. And I remember this was something that I used to think about all the time when I was going through the darkest days of my depression. I remember thinking, like, what's the point of continuing to do this stuff? Why don't I just give up? And I had to ask myself that a lot for years. Until I kind of had to think about, my meaning and my purpose. And I remember thinking to myself one day when I was going to see my doctor about, what I was going through. And I remember thinking to myself, I will literally do anything to feel better, just to feel okay tomorrow. If I could wake up tomorrow and just feel like there's a reason behind this, I'll keep going. I remember thinking that kind of stuff. And I remember going into my doctor's office and thinking, at the time I'm working at a gym. Actually, before that, I was struggling a lot and I was already seeing a doctor, so I couldn't even say that. But at the time I was working a job that I felt was pointless. A lot of it was labor-based, and I was pretty much just getting paid to do all the shit that no one else wanted to do in a construction site. And I remember going to my doctor saying basically something along the lines of, I will literally do anything you tell me if it makes me feel better tomorrow. And I remember my doctor telling me, there is nothing I can do that will make you feel better tomorrow. And it seemed really, I don't think he meant it that way, but I just remember feeling like, I was like, well, fuck, man, what's the purpose? What's the point of this shit then? And I remember telling myself, it was kind of like an agreement that I made between, I don't know if you want to call it God or the universe or whatever, my higher self, whatever you want to call it. But I remember saying to myself internally, if I can survive this, if I can keep pushing through this, and I can just feel okay, and I can just get out of this dark hole that I'm in right now, I promise, whoever I was talking to, I guess myself, that I will dedicate the rest of my life to helping other people not feel this way. And so for me, that gave me a big meaning, a big purpose, because, in my late teens, early 20s, I'm coming up to my late 20s now, but it just kind of made me think of, back to my 14-year-old self, or even younger, back to even my childhood self. And I remember thinking about that kid who was kind of suffering mentally and spiritually and emotionally, and thinking about, of all the professionals in the mental health world, all the counselors that I spoke to, all the different, assistants that I had during my educational process, whatever it was, I remember thinking back, there was nothing that really connected with me. There was no one that could have really helped me, because I'm somebody that, I could hear the right message, but if it's delivered in the wrong words or at the wrong time, it's going right over my head. In fact, if it's delivered improperly, I'm going to do the exact opposite of the advice. And so I remember telling myself I wanted to dedicate my life to being the person that my 14-year-old self would have listened to, or would have looked up to at least, or would have looked at the guy and said, I want to be more like that guy. And so that became my purpose. And it goes into every single aspect of my life. And I started to idolize, or I guess look at other people that had the thing that I wanted to have. Whether that be more patience, more compassion, more sympathy, more, acceptance, more tolerance, more, I picked basically a role model for every value that I thought that I was lacking in my life. And I thought that if I could get those things, it would give me more purpose. And maybe it's wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm completely off the mark on this and I've taken my eye off the ball. Maybe I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about, but it translates into every single aspect of life. Of, who do I want to be and what purpose am I fulfilling? For me, that purpose was creating a better community, a safe haven for people. People that felt like I felt, where you don't really have a place where you can belong in society. You're not as smart as the smart people. You're not as strong as the strong people. You're not as, rich as the rich people. That's how I felt. And so I kind of try and carry that into every single area of my life that I go into, whether that be, a physical place, an environment that I embody. When I worked at a gym, I wanted to make it feel like an inclusive gym that my 14-year-old self could have gone and found a community. When I work in construction, I try and think of that as well. I think of, the people that I work with. I want to make them feel like their jobs are worth something, like they are doing something valuable. When I work in a restaurant, I want to just create a place where, and I guess this kind of goes without saying, because if you listen to my content or if you know me, then this I've kind of tried to let this embody my life in every way. I guess what I'm trying to say is once you find that purpose within yourself, and it's going to be different for everybody else, and maybe it impacts one person, maybe it impacts your whole community, maybe it impacts your kids, maybe it impacts someone else's kids. But I think that if we just take the time to sit down and think about, what are the ways that I suffered when I was coming up, and how could I help alleviate that pain for someone else? Or how can I make this world better for someone else? Or how can I... There's so many ways to look at this. And maybe this becomes a fucking series on the podcast, the search for purpose. I don't know, but I just think that a lot of the times we're looking so short term and we're looking so selfishly in like, what is this going to serve me? How is this going to serve me? And I think that we also get wrapped up in thinking that the change that you have to make in the world has to impact everybody in this world. But regardless of what your purpose is, whether it's, it could be literally anything. And I don't want to pigeonhole someone by, telling them a purpose and them thinking that that's their purpose, whatever. It has to come from within. It can't be told to you by someone like me. It can't be told to you by a book. If you go out and read Man's Search for Meaning, which is one of my favorite books on this topic, but, maybe you're like me. Maybe reading books wasn't how you connected at the time or isn't how you connect right now. And so that's why I'm trying to have this podcast episode. And this is something I'm trying to work through too. Like, it's not like I have this all figured out. I'm just trying to start this conversation so maybe it helps you find your purpose. Or maybe it just helps you out by thinking about, damn, man, I'm not alone. And this does kind of seem pointless. But I don't know, man. I don't know. Maybe you are working one of those jobs where you just feel like nothing you do has a reason. Or, maybe you work front desk at a gym. And every day you go in and you clean that gym and you tidy up the front desk and you make the members of that gym's experience really good. And maybe that doesn't seem like it serves a purpose. And maybe you do that for a couple years. And every single day you go in and you tidy up and you clean up the same area in the gym every single day and no one says thank you. No one even notices. There's a couple things to consider. The first thing would be, maybe everybody in that gym does notice and they're just not vocalizing it to you. And if you're looking for like a verbal affirmation or a confirmation that you're doing a good job, you're doing a good job. If that's what you need to hear, you're fucking doing a good job. Keep doing whatever you're doing. Right? But maybe those people don't appreciate it and they're not telling you. But maybe you keep doing your job every single day, and then a 14-year-old version of yourself walks into that gym, and everybody else in society has thrown them to the wolves. They don't really have a place where they feel like they belong. They don't feel comfortable in their own skin, and they just want to improve themselves a little bit better. And they walk into that gym, and the first person they meet, they assume is going to make them feel intimidated, is going to make them feel unwelcome, is going to make them feel like a novice, make them feel like they don't know anything that they're talking about, or they're brand new in a situation. They're going to feel intimidated. But maybe, just maybe, the first person they meet in that gym is you. And maybe because you've spent years and years and years smiling at every single person that walks in. When you smile at them, it makes an impact in them. It makes them feel comfortable. And the same greeting you've given to every single person, hey, how's it going? How's your day going? What are you working on today in the gym? I hope you have a good workout. Are you new here? Do you need some help? Maybe that same conversation that goes over everyone else's head connects with them. And they think, wow, this person smiled at me and now they're asking me about myself. Maybe they feel cared for the first time in their life. And maybe that person goes on to work out and they think, maybe I'll go back again to see that person. And they keep going to the gym and they keep getting better and they keep getting stronger and they keep feeling more connected and they feel more comfortable. And maybe that person then, encourages some of their friends to start making some improvements in their life. You can see where I'm going with this. And for you to think that every single day of your life, every single day at that job is pointless and monotonous, you could be shortchanging yourself and you could be destroying the potential for others as well. Because if you are that person that made that other person feel comfortable and started them off on their journey, and you just kind of help them with their first step, and then they go on to become, one of these great people that we look up to in life, whether that's a Martin Luther King Jr. or I don't know who you idolize or whatever it is, but maybe, just maybe, you're able to play a role that pivots their life from their meaningless tasks to a reality or an existence that makes the world a better place. Don't you think that in and of itself is purpose? You might not be the person that fucking changes the world, but you could be the person that changes the person that's going to go and change the world. And if you ask me, that's the best damn purpose you can fucking think of. So think about the impact that you have in the world. Is your life meaningless? Does it have no purpose? Are the things that you're doing repetitive and monotonous daily? Maybe. But can you execute them so well every single day that when the opportunity arises for you to change someone's life, you're able to, and then that person then can change the entire world? I don't know what to say. I feel like you have to understand that your purpose is bigger than you. And you might not see your purpose today. Hell, maybe it's a kid that you didn't even know you had that comes out fucking 18 years later when you're an older person and you're kind of later in your life and you're like, holy shit, I could change this person's life. So whether your purpose is, to impact somebody that's going to change, society as a whole, or maybe your purpose is to change society as a whole, no matter what, you're not going to fucking achieve it by complaining and thinking of everything as pointless and boring and monotonous and suffering and painful. If you can look at the purpose behind the suffering, just think about the change that makes in your perspective. If you're going to work every single day in construction and you're thinking about, am I passionate about building walls? Am I passionate about doing drywall? Am I passionate about wiring up some fucking cables? Am I passionate about building a plumbing system for this person's house? The answer is probably not. It's a pretty small select few that are very passionate about that and feel fulfilled doing that. But does that, maybe give you the ability to pay for certain things, to give your family a good life, or allow your kids to have a better shot at life than you did? That maybe it pays for a hobby that actually does give you fulfillment? I don't know. I'm throwing fucking spaghetti at the wall trying to see what sticks to you guys, but I'm just letting you know that your life could have purpose to it, or your life could have no purpose to it. And that's up to you to decide. You look for the purpose in your life. I think back to a lot of the people in my lineage, my father, my grandfather, and those that came before them. And I know that a lot of them made huge sacrifices, whether it was, leaving your entire life behind to immigrate to a new country, or to work in the trades and provide a beautiful life for your family of 5, and let them, flourish and grow however they'd like. A lot of people could look at that and say, maybe they didn't live a life with purpose. But I think that the only way to find out is to actually apply yourself as if there was a purpose. And as if you're preparing for the purpose that you maybe don't see right now. Because these types of things, sometimes we just look back and the purpose is just about, reflecting back on the stories. Because there's countless of people that because there's countless of people that live lives where they have self-destructive habits, whether they maybe they deal with substance abuse or they fuck up their life in any way, and they think, hey man, I've literally pissed away my whole life, how can this have any purpose? And if that's you, then maybe go back and write the book on how not to live it and share that with others, because that's a fucking damn good purpose too. So I just wanted to name a couple examples of how you can kind of think of your life and try and draw some purpose from them. And I hope that kind of helps you guys out. I know that this was kind of maybe maybe a slap in the face, because I wasn't really happy, or it was more like kind of like a lecture. So thanks for joining me for this lecture or TED Talk or whatever. But, maybe just kind of take a reflection back on your life and think about the purpose that it could serve. Or maybe think about the purpose that you want to serve and how you could build your life from there. But if you think of your life as purposeless and meaningless, it probably will be. But if you think of every single thing you do and you think about the purpose behind every single thing you do, and just understand that you could be the example that lights the way for someone like my 14-year-old self, who felt disconnected, who felt uncomfortable in their own skin, who felt like they didn't have somewhere they belonged, who felt like they just weren't good enough. Maybe your purpose is just to light the way for them, because they might be in a fucking dark, dark cave in their life, and they might not be having, and they might not have hope. So maybe your purpose is just to give them hope. So that's all I got for today. I hope that kind of helped you guys out. I hope that kind of maybe gave you some comfort, or maybe it was a little bit unsettling for you, and maybe you have to look back and reflect on your life. But regardless, I hope that it helped you out. And if it did, share the show and help me grow. If you disagree with anything I talked about today, feel free. Like I said, reach out to me. We'll chat about this more and more on social media, or maybe hell, you can come on the podcast and sit down with me and we can chat about it. But I just want to start these conversations and let you know that no matter what it is you're going through right now, you're not alone. And life can and will get better for you. You just have to fucking put in a little bit more elbow grease, or maybe just look at it from a different fucking perspective. But there's a lot of purpose out there. And between 8 billion people in this fucking world, maybe you can find one person that you can positively impact. And maybe they'll positively impact someone else. And like I said before, if that ain't a damn good purpose, I don't know what is. You make the world a better place, one fucking other person at a time. And we can all work at it together and imagine what the world would be like if we all thought that way. That's all I got. Much love and peace out.